Hey, folks and friends, welcome to the podcast. It has been a little bit of time, and that is because we gave birth to our fifth born child about a month ago, our first daughter. And so, just naturally, life has been more full. There's just been transition and busy. Primarily, I just haven't really had an opportunity to record. There's been lots of things I've been working on and writing and thinking about because I'm still thinking all the time and need an outlet for that. But I just haven't been able to have an opportunity to record. And so today was kind of a little pocket of time that I found, and everybody it's quiet time in our house right now, and everybody all the little ones are all conveniently napping at the same time. So I thought that I would, just record something. I could be resting right now. I find this kind of activity, I find restful for me personally. And it's always so unpredictable when a child is going to get up or when the baby particularly is going to wake up. And so I find it easier to not try to close my eyes and fall asleep in case I get interrupted because it makes me feel even more tired. It makes me feel more irritable and kind of groggy to be interrupted than to stay awake and do something that's life-giving and restful. So I thought this would be a better use of my little pocket of quiet time here because I record sitting down. If I had to record standing up, I probably would be doing that. So anyways, I had some reflections that I just wanted to share from before giving birth, and then postpartum. I just feel like with every season, with every transition, things like this, there's always just like different takeaways and things that have helped or were powerful during the process. And so I thought I would just share a few of those in case you might be pregnant or about to give birth or currently in your postpartum season and are adjusting to the new transition of life. If you'd like to hear my birth story, I'm happy to share it. Just let me know. But it was very uneventful in the best way. So I don't know. I kind of feel like there's not that much to share. Like, yes, just kind of how everything happened, of course, but nothing particularly exciting. But anyways, if it's of interest to you, let me know. And when I get a chance, maybe I'll record my birth story. Okay, so I have three things that have been good reminders and things I've been thinking about in this time. So the first, I'm just going to go right into something leading up to birth. And the lesson or reflection that has stood out to me for leading up to birth is the notion that everything will come to pass. It might be debatable for people, like which one they find harder, like the stint before birth or after the baby. Um, and because both come with their own unique, challenges. But for me, before giving birth, I find physically very tough. If you're like me, sleep is pretty touch and go. There's just a lot of physical discomfort. And this time around, 3 weeks before giving birth, I basically threw up every single day. Although except for the week that I gave birth, which was really nice. So it was actually, I guess that's technically 4 weeks, and 4 weeks total, and 3 of those weeks I threw up every day. But anyways, if you're somebody who likes to do a lot of prep and, get all your ducks in a row and kind of have all the things practical or not practical kind of nailed down before the baby, um, I'm kind of more so like that. And it's just a good reminder to remember, like, you can do all the preparation, you can get all your ducks in a row. Sometimes you can even become anxious about doing all of that, which is not good. But um, sometimes there's, like this kind of like hurriedness, I guess, or anxiety to like get everything in order, get everything ready. And for us this time around, there are a lot of just like practical things that um, made it difficult to be fully prepared, like just stuff around the house or like appliances breaking, basically, and things like that that made meal prep and prepping all of this stuff not as feasible this time around, or just not something I could do. And it's just good to remember that baby is going to come and life is going to keep moving on, and you're going to have things that you wanted to do that you didn't finish, and you're probably not even going to think about it after. I think of it very similarly to having a party, right? Like the motivation to clean the house and to get all these things ready and to fix the garage and the outside and all of this stuff. You're motivated by the party to get all of it done. And inevitably, there's always going to be stuff you didn't get done. And the party happens. And you don't even think about it during the party. You're just focused on having fun. And, the leading up, the pressure leading up to the thing, leading up to the party, just like evaporates the moment the party starts, and you totally forget about it. And then when the party's over, you don't even go back to doing the things that were on your list that you wanted to do prior to the party, because the whole point of why you're trying to get them done is because of the party, and the party's over now. So you don't even really care at that point. And I do think that kind of is similar to having a baby and preparing for baby is like, you have all these things you want to do, and I don't know, whatever list of things that you wanna prepare, and then the baby comes and, half of those things don't get done, and you don't even really think about it anymore, and then you realize that just like with everything in life, you'll get it to it eventually, you know? Some things are like that, some things aren't, but I think in general, for the most part, it's a good lesson of perspective to think in the present moment with hindsight, you know? So that was a good reminder, leading up to birth, is that everything will come to pass. Something that stood out, so next to the next thing for during birth, something that stood out and was really powerful for birth this time for me was a couple of my friends hosted a night of prayer for me. I've been blessed to have very loving friends that have also hosted multiple showers for me. But this night was a night of prayer primarily, and I got the idea from another friend. But anyways, it was just supposed to be, yeah, a night of fellowship and having snacks and praying for me, praying for baby, and singing, and we sang some songs. And I requested to have a journal for people to put prayer intentions in, so that I could pray for those intentions during labor. And I think that that's a common thing I've heard of people doing. And so that's what we had instructed people to do, and I said I wasn't gonna look at them, I wasn't gonna read them until birth, like, until or while I was in labor was gonna be the first time I would have heard anything that was in the journal. And so I was assuming that people just put prayer intentions in the book, because that is what we told people, but I think people wonderfully interpreted the activity differently, and I didn't even think for, people to write prayers for me, so that's what ended up happening, is that some people, people did a bit mix of both. They put in intentions for me to pray for them during labor, but then they wrote me a prayer, like, asking God to help me during labor, and so my husband read out these prayers for me while I was in labor, and the tears and the emotion, and it was so powerful. I felt so blessed, especially because I was hearing these all for the first time, and I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting these, a page-long prayer to that was written by somebody dear and close to me, to be read to me, during labor. I wasn't expecting that. And so just hearing, yeah, like, my friends say such beautiful things and asking for such these beautiful, intentions for me and for the baby was extremely powerful. If you're someone, though, who finds crying maybe, like, makes you be less relaxed during, labor, then maybe that's not something quite for you, but I found it such a powerful experience, and my husband was reading those prayers to me from the journal, I think, at a pretty peak point of transition for me in labor, like, when I was pretty close to pushing and giving birth to the baby. I was pretty close to that point, so this was, like, at that pretty tough point where you're switching over, you're transitioning over to the time where you're close to push, but you're not quite pushing yet, and contractions are pretty strong, and powerful at this point, and painful. But it made that transition, like, almost just, like, painless. It just elevated the entire experience, and I highly recommend, like, you don't have to have a party, just, like, maybe go, yeah, have a journal and ask your close friends to, like, write a prayer for you, and don't read them until, you're actually in labor, or have somebody read them to you when you're in labor, because I think I will do that from now on, because it was extremely beautiful and really, really powerful. And then the final reflection is something for afterbirth. And that is the notion that something bigger is happening. A few things that have stuck out to me in this in things that I've read and listened to in this time of transition is basically the following. Like that sometimes it can be easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the here and now is all there is. And the hard thing that you're going through or the season of life you're in is kind of stagnant and only applicable to this moment, that it's not playing into something that is so much bigger and so much grander than what is happening before you. And I think postpartum and like the quietness of postpartum and the transition of life where you're home a lot, and just kind of getting used to, yeah, a new rhythm of life, it can feel so quiet. It can feel very slow and hidden. And I have to realize this very often for myself when things feel hard, when you're up in the middle of the night, when it feels like you're not really catching a break. And realizing that it's just part of the story of your life that God is writing. And that, especially within these stages of family life and seasons, it is playing into something so much bigger than yourself. You know, that every day that you're pouring out into your kids, with every change and every season of life, like this is part of that big, grand adventure and journey that God has laid out for you. And it's all part of that. You know, it's not isolated into this one moment that isn't contributing to your growth, to the betterment of your family, to the development of your kids. It's not part of the great love story of your marriage. You know, like you kind of feel like these things that aren't, they maybe don't seem um, obviously connected, that they're not playing into all of these areas of life, but they are. And there's so much beauty in that, and there's so much that is so easy to kind of take for granted. And that if you just go back to the bare, I guess, bare basics of reminding yourself and realizing that, you know, there's just so much gratitude for what God has given to you, like the gift that you even have a child, that you have multiple children. For me, I have multiple children. Now that we have a roof over our heads, that we have, like, we even get to live in this season of transition. I think that is something that's important to remember, and that it can be easily lost in times of transition or when things are hard. But how everything in life that we're given from God, because everything is given from God and he is so good and he's so abundant in his gifts, that you realize that everything is a get to, you know? You get to be married. You get to have a family. You get to take care of your baby. You get to take care of your kids. You get to, you know, take care of your home. So, those were some things for me that have stuck out in this time, that have made this transition, um, just like a time of reflection and meditation and joy rather than something difficult and hard. Which, don't get me wrong, there have definitely been moments where things have been tough, when moments where things have been hard. But overall, this transition with the baby and with just life in general has overall felt really, I'm just really grateful. I feel super grateful and blessed to be able to live the life I get to live. And yeah, again, even though there are moments, and I think that's kind of the key thing, is not fixating on one particular moment being your everything and consuming you and making you feel like that this is all there is. So even though there's definitely that sprinkled into my day and into this time, overall, it has been actually just mostly peace filled, and I'm currently just really enjoying the life that I get to be living right now. So, those are some thoughts and reflections that have been stewing in my brain over the last month. And I hope to start recording more again soon. I find this really enjoyable and fun, and life giving. And I hope you were able to glean something good from it. Thank you for joining me this week. Till next time, God bless.